Hey everybody, welcome to Two Comic Book Dudes. I'm Aaron, editor-in-chief of Comic Booked,
Hey everybody, Justin, managing editor over at Comic Booked.
and joining us today is Jeff Annison from Legion M.
Hello.
So Legion M is it's not a comic book, which is a lot of what we normally talk about, but Legion M is a way for fans to get involved in the movie making process, which is really cool. So we wanted to get a chance to talk to you today about it and kind of have you give us the scoop on Legion M as a company. How did it come to be, and what's going on with it right now?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you want me to just jump in, or do you have a
Just
specific
jump
question?
in. Go
Jump
ahead.
in. All right. Good, good, good. Well, basically, the idea behind Legion M is that it's the world's first fan-owned entertainment company. And what that means is that we're essentially a production company or a studio that creates feature films, television, virtual reality, potentially other projects as well. But unlike every other studio that's out there, we're 100% owned by fans. So
Cool.
we're taking advantage of some brand new equity crowdfunding laws that literally, for the first time in history, allow the general public to invest in early stage ventures. So prior
Wow.
to this, if we were going to found a movie studio or a tech company like Facebook or even a local restaurant, and we wanted to go out and raise investment so that we could start up this company, the laws prevented you from raising money from the general public. You could only raise money from what's called accredited investors. An accredited investor is someone that has at least $1 million in assets, or an annual income of at least $200,000 a year.
So I just
So,
missed those limits. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So it's the top 3% of the wealthiest 3% of the population. Those were the people that the federal government allowed to invest in opportunities like this. And the genesis of these laws was like back in the 30s, right? And what they wanted to do was try and protect people from getting in over their head. Back in the 30s,
Right.
you can imagine people got more access on their cell phone than someone back then had in their entire lifetime.
Right.
And so, anyway, bottom line is the Jobs Act just passed. It changed those laws, and for the first time, regular people can invest in early stage companies. And we're taking advantage of those laws to build an entertainment company.
Awesome. All right. And really, I mean, it's pretty reasonable. For $100 minimum investment, you get a share of the company or a set of shares of the company, and
Yep.
you get a say in what gets done, right? And you
Yep.
get, hopefully, potential profits in the end.
Absolutely.
Pretty cool. Very cool.
The fundamental premise is that, rather than having a wealthy individual or corporation, finance these projects, which is the way that it normally works, if instead you can crowdfund it, go out to the fans, have people, contribute as little as $100 to become a part of it, that then when our movie comes out or our TV show or whatever the project is that we're doing, you've got a built-in fan base for it. Right? You've got a legion of people that are ready to evangelize this project. And so just by, funding the project that way, you actually you make it more likely to succeed. We don't have to spend money on bus billboards because we can send out an email to our million shareholders and say, guys, our movie's coming out this weekend. Go get all of your friends. Here's an exclusive premiere party kit, and let's blow this thing up.
Very cool. That's awesome. So you talked before the minimum, and is there a max investment as well?
There is a maximum investment, and that is set by the SEC. So
Okay.
Anybody can invest up to $2,000. But if you want to invest more than $2,000, you have to tell them what your annual income or your net worth is, and then there's a calculation that they do. So again, startup investing like this is high risk, high reward. Right. This is the third company that I've co-founded, and I've been doing this for years, and I know lots of people. I mean, the simple fact is, something like 90% of all startup companies fail. right? So, if you put money into it, whether it's Legion M or literally any of these new startup companies that are taking advantage of the Jobs Act, you need to understand what the risks are, right? You can lose all of your money. It's not a place, it's not like the stock market.
Right.
Well,
Well,
actually, strictly
yeah.
speaking, you can lose all your money in the stock market too, but it's just,
That's right.
but the flip side of that is that the upside opportunity is orders of magnitude higher, right? We like to talk that Legion M is kind of like investing in Walt Disney Studios back when it was Walt and Roy, right?
Nice.
This is a place where you can put in money, and if things go well, and if we turned into the next Legendary or something like that, I mean, you could literally be looking at 100x or 1,000x, sort of return on investment. So, it's literally, it's high risk, high reward.
Sure. So let's talk about that. When I know you had mentioned before that there are several projects out there. Can you tell us anything about some projects that we could be looking forward to?
Absolutely, absolutely. So what I can do is, we've got a spot on our website where we've described kind of in not a whole lot of detail yet. And keep in mind, a lot of that's because Hollywood is very fickle. And the last thing that we want to do is go out and tell people, oh, hey, we've got this movie starring so-and-so, and then it just doesn't end up happening. So it's important for us to kind of get our ducks in a row before we go out and communicate, things to people. But with that said, I'm happy to spread a little bit of a rumor here.
Cool. Okay.
And give you guys a little bit more information than just what's on the website. But I'll give you kind of a sample of 3 different projects that we're looking at because I think that it illustrates the breadth of the slate that we're developing. And that's, something that's important for people to recognize is that when you invest in Legion M, you're investing in a company. It's not like a Kickstarter project where all your money is going into this one project and it's going to succeed or fail. Hollywood is a hit-driven business, and the way that you establish a long ongoing business is you have a diversified portfolio of movies, and that some are going to hit and some are going to flop. But if you do well enough, then you're going to make enough money to go on to the next stage. And so anyway, so we're looking at feature films, and we've had a number of different feature films put in front of us. Now, keep in mind, I mean, our company is literally, we launched in March, right? And what are we in July? So we're like 4 months old. So, but, just based on this idea of a fan-owned entertainment company, like we've had people coming out, like really serious Hollywood, heavy hitters, names that you guys, that everybody would recognize, that have come to us saying, hey, I kind of like this idea. Let's talk. Is there something we can do? So, we've got a number of different feature films that, where either we've received a script from somebody or we've received a treatment or, in some cases we're talking to major studios about projects that they already have in their pipeline, but they like the idea of being able to connect fans in this way and allow fans to participate in it. So, it could be, we don't have enough money right now to finance a film, the way that a studio would, but we do have enough that we can contribute, a little bit to either get something off the ground, maybe to acquire an IP, to a comic book, or, a book. To go get those rights and then to try and, develop a script or attach a director or a star or something like that. So anyway, so we have a number, probably about 4 or 5 different film projects that are in one state or another, either working with a studio or maybe it's an idea or a concept. And so the second thing that I'll talk about is we've got a number of television projects, including some very interesting reality TV show sort of things. And when I say reality TV, I'm not talking about, Real Housewives in New Jersey or something like that. Talking with some really notable, stars or creators, the sort of thing that, you would see maybe on, the History Channel or maybe Comic-Con HQ or something like that, including some interesting comic books. In fact, actually, we had a great scenario where we were sitting down with an agent of a Hollywood television writer who had acquired the rights to a very well-known comic book. And again, I can't tell you the names, unfortunately.
Sure.
But
Okay.
They had acquired the rights, and they were trying to get this project made, right? And the way that it works in television is there's these massive gatekeepers, which
Right.
are the television networks. And so if you want to, go through those channels, you've got to sell your project into, whether it's Sci-Fi or ABC, you've got to sell into those people. And so we met with this agent, and that was a really unique situation because they had the money to produce the show. That wasn't a problem, right? This comic book author was already very well established. This writer was very well established. They had successful television series out there. And so they already had an audience. But what they liked about this was they said, look, if we could add the Legion to this mix, right, and we could allow fans to invest and own a piece of this TV show, the publicity that generates and the buzz that generates and the, getting the fans invested like that, that might be the difference between selling the show into a network or not selling into a network, right? It's one of those things. Like the network only has so many slots. And, a lot of what they look at is the creative merits. They're not going to pick up something that's bad just because there's, the Legion attached to it. But if you've got two projects, that are fairly comparable, they both seem really cool, and you're trying to decide which one, the fact that one of them is owned by fans and is going to have a whole legion of evangelists that are going to promote this, like that could be the difference. So anyway, so that's an example of what we've looked at in TV, and it's from nonfiction to fiction and half hour to hour. One of our partners is Stupid Buddy Studios. Those are the guys that created Robot Chicken, Seth Green and the team over there.
Nice.
And so they've got literally, and I'm not joking, I mean, dozens of little tests and treatments and experiments and stuff like that they've done. And we've had the opportunity to see a lot of these. And these aren't public, right? These are things that just kind of exist within Hollywood, and they go out and they pitch it to the network, and some of them get bought and some of them don't get bought. And the ones that don't get bought go on a shelf someplace. And so, we've talked to them about, well, what if we could take some of these off of the shelf? Just because they didn't get bought by a network 6 years ago, it may not have been because of the fact that it was a bad idea for a show. It's just 6 years ago, the network was targeting a different demographic and they already had something else. And so what if we could take all of these concepts, and every studio in Hollywood has got these concepts, and put them in front of fans in a way where fans can watch them, they can vote on which ones they like, maybe they can bet on which ones they think would be most successful. We thought about doing a March Madness style, death match, cartoon death match, where you could bet on which one you think would win.
Yeah.
And anyway, use that as a way to, both. I mean, it's really entertaining for us as a fan to be able to see this great content that is just right now sitting on a shelf. But the other part of it is, if there's a couple of those that really resonate with people and we get behind them, maybe we can take it to the next level, and make a show out of it.
Yeah. And all you need is one big one with your name attached, and then people go, oh,
Yeah. Exactly.
That's
Exactly. Cool. We just kind of get our way out there. But anyway, then the third thing that I'll mention out there is virtual reality. And have you guys played much with the Oculus systems or any of the current state of the art VR?
Yeah, just a little bit of it.
Yeah, it's remarkable. It's definitely it's one of those things that you can kind of know it abstractly and either say, yeah, I believe, or no, I don't believe. But when you strap that thing on and you have a compelling experience, suddenly you're like, okay, I get this. Like, I see why people are literally pouring billions of dollars into VR. And it's in the total, early stages, completely nascent market, early adopters, the headsets are still really expensive, but I think it's going to be one of those things like cameras and cell phones. If you guys are old enough to remember, there was a point where somebody put the first camera in a cell phone and you're like, why would you want a camera and a cell phone? And within 2 years, literally every single cell phone that was ever sold had a camera in it. And so anyway, we see this as a great opportunity to kind of put a toe in to start to establish a brand in a nascent early stage market, and we've got some incredible opportunities. And like I said, there's nothing about this on our website. I mean, it mentions the VR series, but what we're talking about doing is normally VR is shot with a camera. It's like a spherical camera, right, that has a bunch of cameras pointing out. Right. And so what happens is that they can move that through a scene. And when you strap in the headset, your head is where that sphere is. So you can look in any direction and you can see what's around you. Right. They stitch it all together into a seamless environment. And what we are talking to them about doing is using some really cutting edge technology, which is the inverse of that. What you've got is a subject that is sitting inside of a sphere of cameras. There we have 41 4K cameras that are pointed at this subject from literally every possible angle. And so what happens is they capture this footage. It's like a terabyte a minute. It's an insane amount of data. They stitch it all together. And what you end up with is an extremely faithful 3D representation of that person in the virtual world, right? So when you strap on the headset and you go stand in front of them, it is literally as close as technologically possible to being in the room with that person. You can get right up in their face and you can look at them from all different angles, and you can walk around and you can walk around the room, and it's like that person is there. And so what we're doing is we've got some just icons, like some of creative genius icons that we've had agreed to sit down with us and do these one-on-one interviews where you can sit down in a room with this person, and it's like a time capsule that could last, that could go to any corner of the earth, so that and can last for generations to come. So anyway, cool. so and that's a project that we'll be announcing soon, probably in the next couple weeks, who the first subject of that is. But it's a really exciting sort of possibility.
Yeah. Wow.
Really awesome.
Yeah,
so much. It's amazing to see where VR's come from the '90s when it was the Lawnmower Man.
Yeah. Well, exactly. I was gonna say I remember it was late '90s, early 2000s, and they brought in a VR setup at college I was going to, and I remember getting into it, and they strap you in the thing, and they had little pads when you leaned one way or the other. The virtual world. It was all pixels and lines and stuff. But you had this big bulky helmet, and you had the hand things, and you could shoot, and it was cool, and you were fully immersed in it, but it was just so clunky. And so I've seen a lot of the stuff about the new, with the Oculus and all that, and I tried to get him to send me one because there's no way I can afford one right now. I know.
Can you crazy
send
expensive.
Me one to try it out, And they were like, "Oh, we only have a few," and it went to the big. Bigger folks than us. So
yes,
Very, very cool technology, and definitely a place to get in there now and set yourself up as a go-to company for that stuff. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the way that we see it, it's kind of like the iPhone in the early days. In the early days, there's only a handful of apps that are available. So it's a lot easier to kind of make a name for yourself, and that to us is kind of the opportunity. We don't see a lot of opportunity to make money in virtual reality right now. But like I said, the content that we're talking about is stuff that we think literally could have value 100 years from now. And, if you think about virtual reality just being at the start of its arc and, the ability to capture, some of these creators that we're talking about are up there in age, and so, if you've got the opportunity to capture footage from, what if you had a chance, what if you had done a VR interview with this, with Prince, a month ago, I mean, that's, the technology is going to get better and better and better, but that opportunity, it's gone now. You can't go back and sit down with, William Shakespeare or Martin Luther King, but there's still time, right now. So
very cool.
Yeah, very exciting. Where it's possibly headed, that's just, I don't know. Future stuff is awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
That's exciting.
it's amazing. Yeah, so if you ever get a chance, I mean, there's two VR experiences that I would highly, highly recommend. One is The Walk. No, The Walk. That was the movie that Sony did about the guy that walked the tightrope between the World Trade
Yes.
Center towers.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So they did a virtual reality experience of that. And,
Wow.
you put on the headset, and the headset's not super clunky. I mean, it's still not like putting on glasses, but you put on the headset, and they had a fan blowing. So there's like a gentle breeze of air wafting up against you. And they had taped, just like literally with masking tape, a piece of weather stripping on the floor, right, that raised up probably about like maybe an eighth of an inch, just enough so that you could feel a wire under your feet.
Huh.
And you put the headset on, and you know full well that you are standing on the exact same floor that you were a minute ago. But, when you go to step out on that wire, like literally they said 30% of the people that tried it would not do it.
Wow.
Like it is so visceral and it's realistic enough that even though you know full well, people wouldn't do it. So, I mean, I think that
That's
from
cool.
an entertainment standpoint, it's huge. And then the other thing is from just a communication standpoint, I mean, the ability for us to be doing this, but literally to be in the same room with each other, or on a spaceship someplace, and, Aaron a Minotaur, and I mean, it's amazing all the potential for it. So,
well, I think we've seen movies that have attempted that immersion, that first-person immersion, through things like started with like Blair Witch Project and Paranormal Activity, putting you behind the camera.
Yeah, that's true.
That was some of the first successful kind of stuff. And I don't know if you got to see Hardcore Henry. That was like the best movie.
I've seen some of it. Yeah, is it really good? Was it really
was
good?
so good.
It's on my list.
Because it's just like you're running through this video game. It's just like you're living a video game, and I think like that kind of experience in a VR headset would be amazing because you're first person through the whole thing. You don't even see the guy's face till the end of the movie, and only then, and like a very shattered kind of reflection. So it's like it's you through the whole thing. It's really cool. But that's
really cool.
That's what people want. They want to be immersed. They want to be involved. So the first step they can do is, of course, invest in Legion M, and then the next step is to get involved with the VR stuff. So that's cool.
Yes, you need to invest in Legion M, and then Legion M needs to be successful enough that we can afford the headsets, right?
At least to send to us, just to
exactly. Don't worry, when we get our headsets, you guys will be first on the list.
Awesome. I'll send you my address. So, that's really cool. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us, and I mean, I was excited about Legion M when I first heard about it. But definitely more excited now, especially with some of the teasers about the upcoming projects. So, I deal with we deal with a lot of comic book creators, and it's always cool to hear when one of their projects has been optioned for a movie or TV.
Yes.
But then we never kind of see where it's going, and this way, we could see where it's going. So that's cool.
Well, and I mean, you hit your nail right on the head, right? Which is, we feel like a lot of the value of investing in Legion M. I mean, part of it is there's a financial value. Like I said, that's, look at that like a lottery ticket. If we hit it big time, it could be worth a lot of money, but 90% chance it'll be worth nothing at all. That said, the opportunity to kind of come inside of Hollywood, right? Like our goal is to take people along for the ride so that you can see this stuff. And, we want to live stream from the set when we're filming, and we want to, we've got a great idea for actually, I'd love to hear your guys' feedback on this, but, we want to start a comic book club, right? Where, we can work with comic book creators. One of our partners is Meltdown Comics. One of our executives, Terry Luberoff, was the former COO there. And she's an avid comic book reader and lover. And, we thought, wouldn't it be cool, if we could get members of the Legion early access to these comic books, right? And start, like a book club sort of thing. We can get we've got enough people that we can get the creators in. So everybody reads the comic book, you have your discussions about it, and then in the end, it culminates with, an online meeting like this where the creator of the comic book is sitting telling you, oh yeah, you're right, that's exactly what I was going for, or no, that's not it.
That's cool.
But what's really cool about it then is that feeds directly into what we're trying to do, which is A, get the fans closer to the action, but B, find these new up and coming properties, right? So
Right.
If we can educate our fan base on what you look for in a comic book, specifically when you're trying to turn it into a movie, right? Because it could be very different than what you're looking at when you're just reading it as a casual reader.
Right.
Now we've got this army, this legion of people that are out there reading comic books. We can, we've got our finger on the pulse of what's good, and then let's option this one and take you along for the ride, for the ups and the downs as we try and convert it into a movie. And so, I think
Cool.
that's, to us, kind of the core of it. You may make money, and we hope that we're going to make you a lot of money. But even that aside, the community that we're forming, we have a private Facebook group right now that's just for our investors and our members. We've talked about investing in the Legion for as little as $100. You can also join the Legion for free on our website. And when you join the Legion, you get access to the closed community. You get access to not everything that an investor gets, but a decent amount of it. And, if this is interesting, you should check it out. You can join for free. It lets you into our community. Even though we're only a month and a half old, you would be amazed at how supportive and excited this community is. There's a lot of creative people in there, and hey, I've got a screenwriting idea, and, hey, let's get together, let's meet up someplace. And, we think that it genuinely is it's a community, probably more than a corporation. And that's really our goal. So
That's cool. And that was one of the things I know when you were talking about before, that a lot of you had a lot of people approach you who are big names in Hollywood. Do you think they're approaching you because maybe you don't have a lot of that baggage that comes with dealing, not that that's a bad word, but it comes with dealing with a big studio? You have to know the right people. You have to have the right look. You have to have the right whatever when you're dealing with, Universal or Paramount or whoever it is. But with Legion M, it's a new thing, and it's something that they can get involved with more on the ground floor.
Yes. No, absolutely. I think that there's a lot of advantage that you get, from that. A lot of people ask us questions about diversity. The film industry is known to be kind of an old boys club. And I think that, the fact that we are coming in fresh, and the fact that we're owned by fans, fans come in all shapes and sizes. And I think that it gives us a lot of latitude that a studio doesn't have. Studios exist for one reason, right? Every studio out there is a corporation. And they're owned by shareholders, same as us, but they're large institutional shareholders that evaluate the stock on one thing, which is what is the financial return. And so if you are running a studio, you have no choice at all. You need to be a shark, because if you get a 3.2% return instead of a 3.1% return, you could be a hero, right? Or a goat and get run out of the company. And so, that's the one thing that they look at. And that's one of the things that's so unique about not just our company, but the Jobs Act in general. The fact that we are owned by a legion of people that have put in $100, and like at the end of the day, those people would rather that we do right by a creator, or do right by somebody, then that we optimize every last nickel. And so we've got a lot more flexibility from a studio. And the other thing that I'll add is, when I mentioned that VR experience with a legendary comic book creator that is very advanced in age, and that's all that I'm going to say. But these are people that can, they could do this with anybody. Right. Yeah. There's it's not like we own a patent on this or something like that. But when you can come to these people that can do whatever project they want, because they're the hottest people in Hollywood, and and say to them, when we do this project, it's literally owned by your fans, right? It's not CBS Paramount Corporation or some multinational conglomerate. That's, I think, really powerful. And so, again, that's part of the reason why we think that, this whole idea of fan owned, like it's fun and we think that it's really cool, but underneath it all, it's really smart business because there's a lot of deals that we can get access to, and there's a lot of ways that I think that we can make projects successful that, make the company more likely to succeed.
Right. Because not only are you creating a product that you already have that built-in fan base for, but you have that support behind it that even if you created something that you knew people were going to buy, you may not have those people there who are saying, hey, I know you don't know about this product, but here's this really cool thing coming out. And it's kind of like what I do with comics. When I read something that I really like, I want to tell everybody about it. Or when I see a Kickstarter that I think is really cool, I want to tell people. Justin and I were talking earlier today because I got an email from a company that we interviewed a few months ago, and they have the license for Evil Dead 2. And they had just put a Kickstarter out for a game based on that product, or that property, and got the Kickstarter funded in like 8 hours.
Okay.
So it's just huge. But I was, I had to tell Justin because it's really a cool idea, and I was interested in it. So it's the same kind of thing. Legion M is something that if I were to invest in it, I would be the one going out there going, hey, there's a new movie coming out, there's a new TV show, you guys have to hear about it. And tell them, it's I tell two friends and they tell two friends, right?
Exactly. That's exactly it. And I mean, at the end of the day, right, and I think this actually applies to comic books. It applies to music for sure, movies, television shows, there's so much content. I mean, if we're just talking, video content, right? So movies, television, whatever. When you sit down on what night is it? Thursday night, right? And you're like, okay, what am I going to do? There's literally more content than you could watch in your entire lifetime, right? And there's a lot of really good content out there that, is completely buried and you will never know about in your entire life. And so the way that we see it is that, having a Legion behind it isn't going to be enough if the content sucks. If the movie sucks, it's going to bomb. Okay. But what we can do is we can make sure that, the stuff gets a chance to be seen, because the biggest challenge facing most creators today is getting their content to rise above the noise, and so, that's the real power of the Legion. And I think you hit it right on the head.
That's really a cool idea. I love the fact that you'll have people chiming in on the products even before they're proposed as a product. I mean, you have an idea, and there'll be people in the group who'll be like, yeah, that's great. And you'll know, oh, we have this core group who's interested. Let's push it up, to the next level and see if it floats up. And instead of hoping that the movie you just produced is successful, you've already got that success factor built in, which is really cool. I just think it's a great idea. So
well, it's I mean, Hollywood is funny because it's such it's really changed over the past 20 years. There's such an emphasis on creating franchises and tent poles, and what it all stems from is the fact that to reduce the risk, right? If you're faced with like a totally unknown property versus I don't know, creating Superman 7.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, people are going to come see this, whereas Deadpool, I don't know, that's a risk. And so, the studios, because again, they're owned by corporations, they have a quarterly number to hit, I mean, that's, I think what's, it's not just like, hey, we need to optimize every last, nickel, but we need to launch this in June because our second quarter results are due on Wall Street. And, I know that the director wants another month, but we got to hit our target. And if this movie slips, then we're going to miss it. And, so they end up making decisions, I think, for all the wrong reasons. But you see so much of it. And it's just, it's the studios. They want to pick a safe movie, and then they want to pour their entire marketing budget into it. You know what I mean? And then the whole studio is defined by the success of, these 2 or 3 movies, right? And all the other movies they do all year literally don't matter. If
Right.
Angry Birds works, the
Yeah.
studio is going to have a great year. And if it doesn't, it's going to tank. And it doesn't matter what all the other movies do, because combined, like that's
Yep.
that's where they're putting their money. And so, we
funny.
think that again, coming in with a pre-built audience, the fact that we could go out to our Legion and say, guys, here's an amazing comic book. Read it. Tell us what you think. Get people excited about it from day one, and then take it through production. When that movie comes out, we already have a fan base that we know is going to go see it. And like I said, if it's good, they're going to tell their friends, and it gives you a lot more freedom than what a traditional studio has.
Yeah, and with social media, you've got that built-in marketing engine. I
Yes.
think one of the biggest failures in the last 10 years or whatever was John Carter. That was such a great movie and such a great premise. I mean, the whole property is awesome.
Yeah.
Edgar Rice Burroughs, and it's just an amazing property. But Disney just fell on its face when it came to promoting that, because they're like, John Carter. People are like, who's John Carter? Now John Carter, Warlord of Mars, people be like, oh yeah, I remember, or Edgar Rice Burroughs, but actually mention Edgar Rice Burroughs or something, people might go, oh, let me look him up. Like, oh, he did this and this and this. I think that they just like tripped over themselves. But having fans involved, can you imagine if there would have been an army of fans behind of that movie going, well, this is what we're talking about. We need to promote this aspect of it, or we need to show this. Yeah. It would have been a completely different outcome.
Yeah.
So
that's fantastic. That's good to hear. I actually haven't seen John Carter, so I'm going to add that to my list. So tonight I'll be watching Hardcore Henry and David Carter.
Nice.
Yeah, if you need any other movie ideas, let me know.
Excellent. Yeah, can you just send me like a list or something? And it would make it a lot easier.
All right. Well, Jeff, we really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. Legion M is just a great opportunity, I think, for fans to get involved in the process. And it really seems like a great opportunity for really good products to get made, which is really what we're looking for, for everybody's looking for in the entertainment industry. So that's cool.
Hallelujah.
Yep. So do you have any final words for the folks out there?
No, other than, like I said, just go to the website, thelegionm.com. You can sign up for free if you want to just, check it out for a while. Our round is going to be open, this founding investor round is going to be open for just about another month. Come in, check it out. If you want to invest, that's fantastic. Even if you don't want to invest, come along for the ride. We're ready to revolutionize Hollywood, and we'd love to have you on our side.
Awesome. All right. Well, Jeff Annison, we appreciate you joining us, and we're talking about Legion M today. We'll have some information in the description for the video, as well as this video nested in an article on our website, comicbooked.com. And be sure to check out the rest of our channel. Like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff to keep us making more content. So, again, Jeff, thanks, and everybody out there, read more comics, watch more movies, do more, all that stuff.
Fantastic.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
guys.
everybody. All right.